Welcome, one and all, to the Alex and Spencer Show. We've officially renamed the channel to the Alex and Spencer Show. I didn't tell Spencer; this is his first time knowing, so whatever reaction he has is genuine. Um, so yeah, we've done a complete rebrand. What do you think about that, Spencer?
It's a more honest name. It is.
Yeah.
It is Alex. It is Spencer. Technically, when we do the show, we don't really mash a lot of buttons, except for maybe the Quest for the Worst episodes. Or we don't map buttons, and we don't even map them. We mash them. But I think Alex and Spencer has a nice ring to it. It really rolls off the tongue. I will say though, I've never liked my name.
Oh.
So
should we take it out?
Yeah, can we take it out?
The Alex Show?
No.
Welcome.
If we took it out, it would be the Alex and Show.
The Alex and Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
welcome, one and all, to the Alex and Show. I'm Alex.
And I'm Spencer.
No, just I'm Alex and I'm
Oh, so like if we ever like marketed it, it would be Alex and then like a blank space. Like a weird awkward blank
just like
space.
a space. Not even like an ellipses, just like an awkward spacing between the words.
Yeah, they're like your title isn't centered. And it's like, "Oh no, it is." It is.
Yeah, no, it is. That's part of the that's part of the title. It's silent.
Yeah, the Spencer is silent. Which is why this is how I was raised. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Any sound was too much. Welcome to the episode. Welcome to the episode today. We are the Button Mappers, me and Spencer and me. We are here today to talk about a franchise that we both love. It's by Konami. It's influenced a lot of our gaming habits and our lives and our opinions. Frogger. This is the Frogger episode, right?
No, viewers will know because they'll be watching that we're actually talking about Metal Gear Solid. I won't let you sabotage today's episode with your Frogger.
Then why do I have this? Why do I have this Frogger over here? What am I supposed to do with this now?
That's a personal choice that you came in with?
He's going to work.
And my work will stay because we ain't doing Frogger.
Fuck! I thought we were doing fucking Frogger. I got the wrong memo. Oh shit, I turned it on. I didn't mean to do that. Oh, yeah.
Frogger, no!
Frogger, no! Okay. Yeah, welcome to the Metal Gear episode. So this is like the beginning of, I guess, of a line of videos that we don't really have a name for, or like where they are. We're just gonna be doing them throughout the year. In my head, I call them codec calls. But that's a very unmarketable name. We're gonna be talking about Metal Gear Solid, all the Hideo Kojima nonsense. I don't know if it's going to be up through August or the end of the year. I guess it really depends on how good that Snake Eater game is, because if that comes out and it's just hot garbage, we may just stop talking about it in August.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
Yeah, I think this whole thing was kind of born out of both of us. We're very different gamers. I think let's just put that. Let's put that out there. We don't.
I mean, there's Frogger on my desk.
There's Frogger on your desk. Yeah. We don't align on very many games, which I think is good for the show, because it's not like we're not going to play the game and have the same take on it. We look at it from different perspectives. We align on this one for some reason. we both very much like Metal Gear Solid. I don't even know if we care about Metal Gear itself, like the original stuff, but Metal Gear Solid, we're definitely completely aligned on that. We love it, and it's very weird, but it's true. And I think before Teddy wasn't as into it, so we kind of, and he would actually get kind of upset when we would talk about it in long form because he just wasn't that and like Always Sunny.
He couldn't really participate.
Yeah, he didn't really have the participation in it. So we politely just kind of excused it. Well, one of the first things we talked about when it was just us, like this year, was like, okay, well, one thing that we can uncork is Metal Gear Solid. We're like, let's do it. So if you are a fan of Metal Gear Solid, then there's some exciting content ahead of you. If you're not a fan of Metal Gear Solid, I apologize ahead of time because it's coming.
Yeah. And it's just like, there's, and I think we've echoed this throughout the history of the channel when we've talked about like different um like gaming directors and producers. There's not really a lot of names in the industry you can really point at and say like that's a whoever's game.
Yeah.
It's like there's a few that I think of. I think of like Tim Schafer, that's a big one. I mean obviously like some of the, big Nintendo guys like Miyamoto and the Alnuma and shit. But there's like a few that like you can kind of be like, okay, that has their identity in it. Obviously, I love like Suda 51 and stuff, but the big one that like is I guess synonymous with gaming is Kojima. Is
Mm-hmm.
just Hideo Kojima himself. So yeah, it's like I think there's just something in the games he makes, man, that like brings us together. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, we'll never figure it out, but maybe we'll discover it through our adventures.
He has the science. He has it down.
Yeah.
um So I guess today we're just gonna talk about the Metal Gear franchise, go through some of the games, maybe talk about like the influence, our thoughts. This is like a basic overview episode, I guess you can call it. Like making our way through the Metal Gear timeline.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very high level. I know some of these we're gonna give shorter change to than you would expect, because every Kojima game is basically a minefield. But
Yeah,
we just want a very, very high level, and we will be talking about some of the bigger ones in much, much longer form, in the future. So if like we'll just say Metal Gear Solid, if you're like, there's a lot more you could have said about that, believe me, it will be said, just not right now. It's just our high level thoughts on these series.
yeah. And if you're like, well, what about Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops? But what about it?
Yeah, you tell us.
Let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Drop your Kojima Metal Gear knowledge.
That being said, you ready to
I'm,
start?
yeah, I'm ready to start. Do you want to guide? You
I'll
want to go?
guide since I've got the thing up.
Okay.
It begins in 1987 with Metal Gear. It's an action adventure stealth video game developed and published by Konami for the MSX2. It was released for the system in Japan and parts of Europe in 1987. Considered to have popularized the stealth game genre, it was the first video game to be fully developed by Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, interesting game. I know the development for that one was like they were making an action game and like I don't know if like the producer or whoever it was left like mid production and they had Kojima, who was just a very low, rank in like at Konami, step in, and I mean, obviously his influence like completely changed the game from an action game to like a stealth game, which wasn't common. Interesting development for that one. I don't have much to say about the game itself.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say either. I tried to play it on. It was released in like a Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence. Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, didn't really. I mean, it wasn't really my thing. Um, and I would question this Wikipedia's entry about saying that it popularized the stealth genre. Maybe they mean the series. Because I wouldn't say that this game specifically popularized it.
It kind of invented it in a way. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it may have started it, but I don't know if it was popular for it. I would say it
And
was.
even then I'm like hesitant to say invented because I don't I can't for sure say any game before 87 didn't
Mhm.
incorporate stealth elements. Like gaming had been happening for console gaming had been happening for 10 years at that point. So there probably was something that had stealth
There's
elements in
probably
it.
something. Yeah, we'll say that it's an early adopter of it.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I don't think it really got popular until Metal Gear Solid. So
no.
I don't know. I think I would be curious what people think of this game specifically as far as the history of the series because we're both a little young. I like maybe older
I
people
I
like
have I have played this one and its sequel. I wouldn't mind taking a look at these at some point. I don't know if we will this year, but I think they could be fun to look at under a microscope because like they're really old. It's
yeah,
just like, and obviously the way we think of stealth now and the way stealth was then is going to be completely different.
yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Okay, let's briefly talk about Snake's Revenge. It's a stealth action adventure game
Ooh.
produced by Konami for the NES in 1990. It is a standalone sequel to Metal Gear. It was released in North America and the PAL region following the success of the other one.
Yeah, so Metal Gear did have a an NES version that had a really rip off box art. That was a rip off of like the Terminator, right, or something. It was like the cover art was like the same photo as like a different movie, like an '80s movie. Snake's Revenge came out for NES. That has Kojima had nothing to do with that game. It's just like a shitty action game.
Ah, yeah, I'd heard there
Yeah,
was some bullshit with one of these games. This must be it.
yeah. Well, there's some other ones, but yeah, that's the big one.
All right, let's do Metal Gear Solid 2 Solid Snake, a 1990 action adventure stealth game developed and published by Konami for the MSX2 computer platform. It serves as a sequel to the MSX2 version of the original Metal Gear, written and designed by series creator Hideo Kojima.
I mean, a lot of the same things with the first Metal Gear are here in terms of the game itself, but interestingly enough, if you follow like the storyline of these games, a lot of the games in the franchise stem from this one for some reason. Like obviously Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Solid 3 and its sequels, like with Guns of the Patriots and sorry, no, sorry, not Guns of the Patriots, but Peace Walker, and Five. Phantom Pain. A lot of that stuff stems off of this one. It's very strange to think about because I don't know. I know a lot of people that have played those games. I don't know. I don't know as many people that have played just Metal Gear 2.
Mm. Yeah, I guess it would probably be worth playing this one in Metal Gear 2. Obviously not Snake's Revenge, but just to
I
get
mean, like
that.
Outer Haven and Big Boss and stuff. Like that's here. That's this.
Yeah. Yeah, just it's
You know?
so formative. It would probably be worth it. It's so funny that they built a series that references games that like most people have never played.
Yeah, I feel like that's why, like with Subsistence and also like that Metal Gear Legacy collection they did on like PS3, they started to slide these in there. Like, hey, here's the old ones. You might want to look at these.
Just try this real quick.
Yeah, check this out.
All right, you ready for the big one?
Yes.
Okay. The next one, and we got like what 8 years between.
Yeah.
So you can see that while it's claiming that these are popular, I would hesitate to actually say that because they just abandoned it for so long. Maybe there's
I
more of
mean,
a story
I
there.
mean, what like between 91 and 97, he worked on what like I think like Police Knots and what else? The Snatcher, was that him? Right?
I think
He
Snatcher was
like
him. Yeah.
some of those like story driven CD based games and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
But I mean, didn't make any Metal Gear.
no,
So anyway, yeah, Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation. We're gonna spend some time on this one. Uh,
never
Metal
heard of it.
Metal Gear Solid is a 1998 action adventure stealth video game developed and published by Konami for the PlayStation. It was directed, produced, and written by Hideo Kojima and follows the MSX2 video games Metal Gear and Metal Gear Solid 2 Solid Snake, in which Kojima also worked. So Metal Gear Solid is them converting the idea of Metal Gear into a 3D action stealth game.
Yeah, this is the as of this episode, which is the beginning of April of 2025. This is the only game we've ever done an episode on. It's the first Metal Gear Solid.
Mm.
um, it's such an influential game. And it's crazy that like even though this game came out in '98, and you look at a lot of other games at that point that are trying to do this as well. I think the Final Fantasy games, which are good in their own right as well. But, around that time, a lot of them do have elements that you're like, ooh, that didn't age, that didn't age well. It's crazy to me that like even when we went back and did that previous episode on this game is fucking great.
It's
this
phenomenal.
game's this game still works. I mean, it looks a little rough because it's a PS1 game, obviously, so it's gonna look funny, but it's so fucking good.
Yeah, it's incredible what they achieved here. Um, Graphically, yeah, like it obviously it's pixelated, but what they were able to accomplish with it is just out of this world. Like it doesn't look silly. You can still take it seriously, even though sometimes you can't see his mouth move, and sometimes you can't see his eyes, and just like that. But I mean, the emotion that they're able to get out of it and the visuals are so breathtaking. Uh, what an incredible game! And now, how formative is it for you? Like, when did you first play it, and was it important then?
No, I didn't play this until like a few. I was it was there. It was into the PS2.
Mm.
I had a friend in school that we were friends for a very long time growing up, and he loved Metal Gear. That was like his thing. And that's how I first kind of learned about Metal Gear was like hanging out with him, and he was like, "Oh, you have to see this. You have to see." He'd show me like all the weird little Easter eggs and all the games and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's really how I came about playing these games in the first place. In fact, my copies of I think 1, 2, and 3 were both his at some point because I think he got different versions and then gave me some older. I don't think Metal Gear Solid 1. I think I bought that one, but Metal Gear 2, Solid 2 and 3. I think he got like the Substance and Substance versions and then gave me his original copies. And then I played them that way. So thanks to him, I kind of was like introduced into this world of the Metal Gear franchise, which was fascinating to me. Playing the first one, going back from at the time I was playing PlayStation 2. I was used to games like God of War.
Hmm.
Which I know God of War is way different now, but God of War back then was still like a pretty big achievement when it came to like how games looked and the storytelling and stuff. And then I went back to PS1, which at the time I thought was just Crash Bandicoot, and that kind of stuff. And then I went back to play this, and I was like, oh man, like this is like as good, if not better, than like what I'm currently playing.
Yeah.
Uh, um, and I remember just playing this first one and being really captivated by just like the way they were able to tell a story. Now, granted, the Metal Gear Solid stories, for better or worse, are pretty convoluted. We can talk about that as we go along, but just the fact that they were able to tell a story in such a cinematic fashion on the PS1 without it feeling bloated. Well, without it feeling like I'm just reading boxes of text, or like some of those kind of. I have issues with like some of those RPGs that just don't shut up.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it didn't feel like that. It felt like I was generally like part of this like cinematic movie experience, and it was on a PS1, and I was like, wow, cool.
Yeah. Um, I was fortunate enough to be introduced to this around launch time. I didn't have a PlayStation growing up, but a friend of mine got all the games as they came in, and we were just hanging out at his house, and he was not like. It's funny because he had all the games and stuff, but he wasn't really a gamer. So I think his dad bought the PlayStation, just so he could play NASCAR games, and then and then the kid was like, "Well, I also like." That's where I played Oddworld. So that was like that's where I like Oddworld, so he bought his kid Oddworld or whatever. And somehow he ended up getting this game, which is great. I'd never seen it before, and he was fighting Revolver Ocelot, and he's just like, I can't beat this guy. I don't know what to do. Like I'm struggling here. And he's like, can you do it? And so I picked up the controller. Never played it before, and I beat it first try. And I'm not trying to say that I bragged. I'm just saying for some reason, this game like clicked with me literally upon like playing it. Like
Hmm.
putting the controller in my hand. Immediately, I killed Revolver Ocelot. He's like, "Whoa, how'd you do that?" And it's like, "Oh, you do this." And for whatever reason, yeah, it clicked on me. But I didn't play it after that. Like because I didn't have a PlayStation, so it's just like, okay, well, that was cool. I wish I could play more, but and then I spent the summer going over to one of my other friends' houses, and he had a PlayStation as well, and he got this game, and we tore it up. We beat this. We would. I would go to his house in the morning, and by the afternoon, we'd have the game beat. We would constantly speed run it, and we got down to like I think it was like 2.5 hours or something. Like obviously skipping cutscenes and stuff. And we would just be like, we would just pick it apart and just do everything. We were obsessed with this game for like an entire summer. Um, it was so much fun. I adore this game, and I would challenge the idea. Like obviously, I think you were alluding to it, but yeah, as this series goes on, it gets very convoluted. This game itself, like, is somewhat self-contained to the point where
Mhm.
it doesn't get that. I mean, knowing what happens in Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 would help, but other than that, it doesn't really explode too much.
There's a
Um,
little bit of leakage at the end. A
yeah,
little bit.
a little bit, but I think that's just enough to make it like like a movie of the time where they're trying to a corny way to set up sequels and do this. I appreciate that, and I didn't at the time even think it was that crazy. Um, I think with future releases, they definitely explode.
Oh boy.
We can get to that. But yeah, no, this game is incredibly important, not just for me and not just for you, but I think for gaming in general. It was like, by the way, you can have voice acting in a game; it doesn't sound like shit. Like like the voice acting that was also going on was like Resident Evil, and everyone just makes fun of how stupid it sounds. This
Oh,
game had
yeah.
this game had a shit ton of voice acting, and it was pristine. It was
Yeah, it
incredible.
sounded like a movie.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like David Hayter as Snake is such an iconic role, and just I mean, granted, the Snake in this game questions literally everything, so he's
Metal
always like, huh?
Gear, yeah.
Huh?
Meryl.
Meryl?
Whatever.
Yeah, like, Campbell's like, Snake, you have to find the codes. He's like, codes? It's just like it's always something. So
Yeah.
it's like so that's a little quirk. But I think something fun we could do as we scroll along here is if we think a game is worth playing, we could just say, like this is that definitely worth your time.
Hmm.
And I think this is the first one on this list so far that I would say is yes, play this one.
Not
If
just
you're interested in,
n-
Metal Gear.
not just yes play this. This is this should be required. Like if
If you're
you
getting your gamer license.
yeah, you don't really have a gamer license until you played Metal Gear Solid 1. Specifically Metal Gear
Yeah.
Solid 1, it's like a required game.
Dude, that's such an interesting concept for an episode. Like, what would the gaming what would the games be you have to play in like a gaming class to get your gamer license?
Mm, that's a good
This is one of
episode
them.
because it's people can hate you for it,
Yeah.
it's like
They
a
already do.
they already do. A spin-off of Metal Gear Solid was VR missions. We don't have to
Yeah.
go into too much. It was just a follow up to the first one. They added a bunch of like VR, what it says VR missions. So it's more Metal Gear Solid minus a lot of the story. So
Yeah, it was weird. I actually that friend that did that talked about he had this and I remember watching him play it. It was cool. Like it was fun seeing him like try to do the different objectives and stuff. I'm terrible at these games when it comes to like the controls. Myself, they've always felt a little wonky to me.
mhm.
So this is not one I ever wanted to play, but I liked watching him play it.
Yeah, not a lot to say about that one, and
Yeah.
probably even less to say about Metal Gear Ghost Babel, released in Japan as Metal Gear Ghost Babel. And in here you said it's just released as Metal Gear Solid or something.
Yeah, I believe it's just called Metal Gear Solid on Game Boy Color.
Actually, yeah, it says right here, yeah, Metal Gear Solid, which is stupid because the Solid is supposed to be 3D, right? That's kind of the joke.
Yeah, it's stupid. And it's even dumber when you realize that this is like a different story and like a different timeline than Solid.
Yeah,
It like doesn't even Solid didn't even happen in this game's world.
it's stupid on a lot of levels. This
Yeah,
game.
I haven't played it. I know it's supposed to be like the early games, like the MSX games. The story is neat, I guess. That's all I can say about it.
If you played this, I apologize. You were misled. By Nintendo specifically.
By Nintendo. Blame Miyamoto. Write a letter
Yeah.
to Shigeru Miyamoto
Yeah.
and say, fuck you, Miyamoto.
He did you wrong on that one. Okay, here's where I think two of us are gonna maybe split a little bit. Metal Gear
Ooh.
Solid 2: Sons of Liberty, released in 2001. It's an action adventure stealth video game, um, and it was released on the PlayStation 2. Um, go ahead.
This is my kind of game, baby. I love this game. It's my favorite Metal Gear game, by far. I think this is a game that could never work ever again, because it was a particular time in history where we didn't have access to all the information about something all at once. So the idea of doing a bait and switch is genius in this time period of being like, okay, follow up to one of the most popular games that have come out in the last decade. We're gonna, show off the trailer. Here's Snake on a boat. Like, here's the new graphics and the pressure sensitive buttons. Like, aren't you excited? And then when you start playing, you quickly realize that that's not the game you bought at all.
Yeah.
The game you bought at all, instead is a game starring a brand new character named Raiden. He's on this big the I forgot what they call it, a big shell, right? Which is like a big rig in the ocean. There's this crazy group of mercenaries that are there and stuff, and I don't want to get too far into the story because this is the point where the franchise gets stupid. But I think it somehow works at this point. And like the famous like Shyamalan twist endings. This game has like 3 of them, like back to back to back.
Yeah.
And it is your first time through. This game is a fucking roller coaster.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna say up front that I like this game. I don't hate this game. The mainline series of this, I like them all. So I want to say that up front. To me, this is probably my least favorite of the Metal Gear Solid games, for some of those reasons. I don't think the bait and switch was a very nice thing to do. I get why he did it. I mean, it's clear this is a statement of I didn't want to make a sequel. So fuck this. I'm against those kinds of decisions. I think they make for a worse product. And a game did do this sort of. Not with the same intention, but the bait and switch of a character recently. And that game is called The Last of Us 2. And everyone liked Joel. Nobody specifically liked playing as Ellie. I mean, it was fine, but it was like the adventure that everyone loved was with Joel. And when they took that away, I think it left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths.
That's that is odd to think about because that's true, but I think I also like that game for a lot of the reasons that people don't. So yeah,
I didn't like Last of Us 2.
I like games that try to like challenge the way we think about gaming narratives, and
I can appreciate it, but I think you also have to execute. And I think Metal Gear Solid 2 executes better than The Last of Us 2 did. And The Last of Us 2 was a fine game. We're not going to talk too much about this, but it was a fine game, but story-wise, I think it was just a complete mess. Whereas Metal Gear Solid 2, if you come into it with the expectation that this is a bonkers, crazy game, I think you can appreciate it. If you came in and you're like, I'm a huge fan of, and remember that at the time, that's kind of how it was. It was we didn't know Metal Gear Solid was going to be absurd, as absurd as it is. I think Metal Gear Solid 2 is kind of a slap in the face, and I can say that as a fan, I was disappointed that I had to play as Raiden. I do not like Raiden as much as I like Solid Snake, and I think Metal Gear Solid 2 is very weird, but saying that and then looking back on it as a series from like a helicopter view. This is probably not the craziest offender in the series. So.
No, and also like knowing what happens to Raiden throughout the rest of this franchise, I have to say I have a soft spot for this one, for this version of Raiden. For for just regular, everyday Jack, instead of what he becomes.
Yeah, it kind of helps it that, like, in a history retrospective, to have Raiden be such an integral part of the later stuff. Because then it's like, okay, well, if he's gonna put him as such a main character later, it makes more sense. But if you take like 1 and then 2, it's kind of like, what the fuck did you just do? It's like super bizarre. So, but it's a good game. It is a very good game, and it should be played.
Yeah. That you saying that reminds me of, like, again, Resident Evil. We keep bringing up Resident Evil. It's like the fact that, like, if you look at like Resident Evil 1 and stuff, like Chris is like a plain Jane kind of whatever character, and like nobody really cared about him. It was like, oh, whatever, and they quickly moved on from him. But when they brought him back for later on, and he's like this ripped dude, and he's just doing action shit, you kind of look back and you're like, I kind of like that other one. You're like, I kind of like the weird version of Chris.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a similar experience here. I this is a play it for me. I disagree with you. I do think that if you've played the first game and you know nothing about this game's story, go into it blind. I think it's. I mean, you're listening to us, so we're talking about how crazy it gets, but we didn't go into specifics. But I don't know. I think this game is a trip, and I really like it. And
The last 5 hours of this game is like you just pop some acid. It is bizarre.
Yeah. Starting with like the interrogation segment on is like, what in the fuck did I? Is this the same game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like, this is gonna way off, but there's I'm a big fan of Coheed and Cambria, and their albums, for the most part, are based on the comic that he wrote. And the third album, which is actually my favorite album, is but if I don't care about the comics, I don't read comic books. I think they're lame. So I'm sure I've tried reading his comics, and I think they're lame too. But the third album is really, really good. It's probably their best one. It's got like Welcome Home on it and stuff. But it's actually, from a story perspective, the story is that the author of the comics, his wife cheated on him when he was out at war, and he comes back, and now the author is taking out his anger on the characters in the comic. So it like completely breaks the fourth wall, and is like the author inserting himself into the story and like, ripping characters in half and whatever. And I just think that like if I were a comic book fan, that would completely derail like my appreciation for it, because it'd be like, oh, it meant everything before meant nothing, and this is just bizarre. And I'm confident he was completely on drugs when he made that. But it's kind of like that with me here, where it's like I get what he's saying, but if you look at it holistically from a story perspective, it kind of just like shits on the story, I think.
Yeah, it does, and I think it's notable for people that are listening to this to know that I love Yoko Taro and his games.
Yeah.
And that man, the way he writes his stories is completely out of left field most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's so maybe that's why I really like this game as well. I mean, granted, when I played this game, I hadn't played a Yoko Taro game yet, but maybe, I don't know. It's just this kind of stuff just resonates with me. It
was gearing you up for it.
Yeah.
Another game that we might disagree on, I'm not sure. Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes.
I don't think we're gonna disagree, because I have played it. I've never owned it. My friend that I was talking about owned it. I've played it, but I don't think I have enough experience to really give like an in-depth opinion on it. Like, if it's better or worse than playing the original.
I'll give you a heads up. It was released in 2004 on the GameCube, by Silicon Knights.
Actually, I know it's by Silicon Knights. I talked about them recently when I was too human.
So imagine Metal Gear Solid with Metal Gear Solid 2 graphics and extended cutscenes.
Yeah, like I said, I've only seen pieces of it. It looked like Metal Gear, Solid 2, which
Mhm.
is cool. Obviously, like I'm sure there's some like improvements when it comes to the gameplay because there were improvements in 2. Um, does it change the story at all? Does it?
No, no.
So it's the same story. Okay, then it can't be. Okay, give me your take. Give me your take.
I love this game. This
Okay.
is this is better than Metal Gear Solid, but obviously it is just Metal Gear Solid. So Metal Gear Solid, just in general, just play it. Um, the thing that I think people get upset about is the addition to the cutscenes make it more ridiculous. And to that I say, what series are you talking about?
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
because
Okay, maybe the argument might work at the time. Granted, Metal Gear Solid 2, but the
yeah,
argument might work at the time. But at this point in time, where I have played 4, which we're gonna get to,
yeah.
uh, I don't know I don't know how ridiculous they can get with this game.
So
Honestly,
the probably the biggest offender is, do you remember the scene with the helicopter on the rooftop? That boss fight.
okay.
Okay. That boss fight ends with a cutscene where they shoot a rocket at Solid Snake. Solid Snake jumps onto the rocket and kicks it with his foot, and the rocket turns around in midair and shoots back at the helicopter. That's how that scene ends. So that's the biggest offender of how goofy it gets.
Not, and even you describing that is not the dumbest thing in this franchise.
Yeah,
Not by
yeah.
far.
So the other addition, the only like major gameplay addition that I recall was that it added that first person view where you can like, and I think the tranquilizer, so you can trank
which
people.
which I'm sure helped. Honestly,
Yeah,
I
it
think
made it
that's
better.
something that yeah.
So in general, I think this is a great game. It's a shame that it's on the GameCube because they're probably not going to bring it back ever. We're just going to get the original, but the original's fine anyway, so it's not a huge
Yeah,
deal.
I wonder why they haven't ported this or why I don't know, maybe there's a rights issue or something. I don't know.
Oh, and like remember when you're fighting what's his face? The Psycho Mantis. And he's
Yeah.
talking about your memory card in the PS1.
Oh, does he do like the GameCube
He
games? He's
does
like,
Nintendo
oh,
games.
he's like, oh, I see you played Mario Sunshine or something,
I
right? Probably.
specifically remember Zelda, but yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
he'll
okay.
notate some of that stuff, which is just incredible. Like that
That would be
that
so funny.
yeah.
I would love that if like I don't know how in depth it gets. This is 2004, which honestly is like mid GameCube. I would love if he was just like, "Oh, I see you played Mario Party 5 for 90 hours."
You fucking loser.
And you played as Donkey Kong. It just got really. It got like too in depth,
Yeah, yeah.
like too personal.
Pick a different character. Try it.
Wow, you haven't even unlocked Dry Bones. You must suck.
He's just really like digging into you.
That's funny.
Okay.
Okay,
Let's
let's skip the next one, right? I was kidding.
no. Same year, Metal
Yeah.
Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, 2004.
Snake Eater.
um I mean, what else is there? There's not really. Oh, I guess it released in North America in 2005. But
I know, and this for context, people. This if you don't know Metal Gear, this is the one that's getting the remake this year. Um, I know people that don't play this franchise and have never seen any of these other games that have played Snake Eater front to back.
mm,
That's we talked about the first game being big and influential. That's how popular Snake Eater was. How big Snake Eater was at the time.
yeah,
That it was kind of like one of those games that like that happens every once in a while. I'm thinking, well, because I'm playing it because I have it in my brain, but still, I think of like recently it's been like Baldur's Gate 3. Like those games happen every once in a while that even non-gamers kind of look, you know.
Yeah.
This is that. This is one of those games.
Mm-hmm. This to me is, I mean, it's one of my favorite games of all time. It's incredible. This game, this game, this game is an art. I would call this game like an artistic anomaly, which makes me sound like pretentious or whatever. But the thing about Kojima is a lot of his stuff can be viewed humorously and not taken seriously. And that applies to this game. And yet, at the end of the game, I I get emotional at it. Like
Crying like a baby, right?
yeah, I'm like, wow, what a gut punch at the end of this game, where it's just like, I thought it. You go into it, you're like, I thought it was a joke, and it's like, it kind of is, and it kind of isn't. It's like an artistic. It's an anomaly. Like I've never seen that before.
And this game also does something that's very rare within the industry. Um, this game is a prequel to all of what we've talked about so far. Which honestly, like from this point on, a lot of this franchise falls within this specific timeline and not really leading from Metal Gear Solid 2. There's a few, you know, um, but just talking like whenever you think of a prequel within like the gaming industry, you think of like a cheap cash in, something to just kind of be like, oh, you want to spend more time in this world. Oh, we want to cash in on these characters. No, Metal Gear Solid 3 decides to go back and kind of not really start over, but start fresh in a way that invites new players, rewards fans, and again sets up this franchise for like a second breath of life after Metal Gear Solid 2. And that's not common, not even within game. That's not common with prequels in general. I can only name maybe a few other ones, like in TV and film, that have done that. It's outstanding. The fact that this worked so well.
Yeah, a prequel is usually a death sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just look at Star Wars to understand how bad a prequel can just fuck up a series.
Oh yeah,
and it
destroys it.
It did the exact opposite. The only thing I will say as a negative, and this applies to 2 as well, and I don't even know if it's a negative, but it's just it should be said, is that it also expanded the lore to ridiculous lengths that it is impossible to really piece together what's actually happening here.
They will try.
Yeah, it did not help that cause at all. but that aside, this game is, I hesitate to say it's a must play, like Metal Gear Solid 1 is, because it is very long. But I would highly recommend that you play it. It is very good.
Yeah, I think. I mean, okay. Look, my favorite is 2, but I am not like above saying that 3 is a masterpiece, because I do think it is. I think that it achieves everything it sets out to do. And a lot of what I said about the first game can be echoed here, with the caveat that like this game also feels more self-aware and plays with its mechanics in ways that are also just kind of fun to experience. Like, I remember the first time I found out, like, spoilers, this is still pretty early in the game though, when I found out about the clock trick with the end, where you could just kill him by changing your PS2 console, clock, and I was like, what? Like, that's a thing you could do in a video game? Like, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Unbelievable.
And it's just like little things like that. There's like and that's all throughout this game. it's just like, who thought of this? How could you think of this? Thank you for thinking of this. And that's this entire experience.
Yeah, the outside of the box thinking is on full display here. If you want really unique moments that will just stick with you forever, I mean this and two are overflowing with things you will never forget in video games. I can't recommend it enough, but I would still say Metal Gear Solid is like a required playthrough for gamers, but this game is gets a high recommendation from
I
me.
think, yeah, no, I think you're right, but I will say that if anybody is wanting to get into the Metal Gear Solid franchise and doesn't know where to start, this is my starting point.
Mm.
Is this game? I think just skip right to 3. Go ahead and play this one first. Because I don't think, because playing this one first will not impact your experiences with the previous games at all. You're still going to have a great time playing the previous games, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
that's an
you know,
interesting idea.
it's
I
yeah,
I don't
it's like,
know because I feel like this one would uncork a lot of questions. And
they'll be answered.
or not, or not.
They'll try to be answered.
Yeah. I don't know. That's an interesting idea of where to start with Metal Gear Solid. I still say the first one. Metal Gear
You think the first one's
Solid
still the
1.
best? Yeah.
But I could see 3. I mean 3 is obviously the earliest, so like from a timeline perspective it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
And then it would feed into like 3 or 2 and 1 of knowing who Big Boss is. So that would help. I'm afraid of that because I think Alt 3 also is like there's a lot that would get confusing that I would think people might get lost about. But I don't know. That's the
All
series in
right.
general.
You ready to play some hopscotch?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
We're gonna dance around a few entries here. So between 3 and 4, we have a lot of PSP games.
Yeah.
Looks like.
Yeah, and that yeah, so in the Metal Gear Solid timeline you go and then the PSP happened.
Yeah, PlayStation Portable. It's a big deal, especially in Japan.
Yeah. Sorry, my alarm.
Um,
Um Hold on. This thing's fighting me.
holding,
Holding.
hold.
Okay. So we have a bunch of releases here, but we have Metal Gear Acid and Metal Gear Acid 2, Portable Ops, Portable Ops Plus, and Metal Gear Solid Mobile, I'm sure was for phones.
Yeah, I think it's like a iPhone game or something.
I think we can both stop a little bit with Metal Gear Acid.
Yeah,
Turn-based
uh,
collectible card tactical RPG.
yeah. Acid. I want to just kind of group them together. Acid and Acid 2, which
Mhm.
from a gameplay point, or like they're basically the same games. In terms of like the mechanics and stuff. Um, they're interesting. They are also like they're called Metal Gear Acid. The solid isn't in the name for a reason because it's like its own thing. Um, and it has like they both have unique stories with like different versions of Snake, and there's even one like I forgot one of them has like I haven't played them in a long time. I know one has something to do with like there's a part with like the president and like a doll on an airplane. It's very strange. The stories I haven't experienced them in a very long time. But I remember liking them. The gameplay was interesting because it was like a tactics game, but also it had like card mechanics, which is neat, and it would call back to other Metal Gear stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um,
I love it.
they're very novel. I think they're good though.
And it brings the idea that of a genius idea that I don't think anyone's ever really pinned down, but like could there be a successful like turn-based stealth game? And this is kind of it. The card stuff gets in the way. I get why it's there. Like I like it, but the concept of like a turn-based stealth game is very appealing to me. I wonder if somebody could really dig their heels in and make something great with that. Um,
Yeah.
this game is very fun though. Very fun. And I highly recommend it if you're looking for like an interesting stealth game that does something very different. Um, there's a lot to like here. Not a lot to say because you have to really play it, but yeah.
And they're not really must plays either. Like you don't have to play. If you're here to experience this franchise, these are skippable.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're good though.
What about portable ops?
But the portable ops and portable ops plus are skippable. These were think the same idea as what VR missions was there to accomplish for Metal Gear Solid. Portable Ops and Portable Ops Plus was kind of there to accomplish for Snake Eater in a way. It's meant to be a portable experience that can kind of give you the feeling of Metal Gear Solid without really delivering the story. And Portal Ops in particular is based on like multiplayer, so it's not really easy to play these now because obviously there's the PSP can't go online and play multiplayer, and even if it could, who's playing this? So they're kind of worthless now. But at the time, I'm sure they were big successes, especially maybe in Japan where the PSP was so popular.
Yeah.
Cool idea.
I got this game and I was like just kind of lost maybe what I was expecting out of it. I didn't get it. I just said this feels I guess it feels like Metal Gear Solid, but it just feels cheap. Like flimsy.
It's and I see Portable Ops and Portable Ops Plus as building blocks to one of the later games. Just kind of like what they wanted to do.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. So like they're cool on that front, but yeah, these are worthless now. So yeah.
And let's not. I mean, mobile. I have no idea. I think that was
I
Japan.
don't know. There's probably a few of those we'll have to skip in a minute too.
Well,
No, there was a mobile game that got released here on iPhone. I don't know which. There's 3 mobile games on this list. I don't know which one of them it is, but there was. I just want to note there was one based on Metal Gear Solid 4 that got released. I'm not sure which entry it was. I never played it. I think I might have played like a demo of it at one point.
Yeah,
it was like a weird cover shooter looking thing. Other than that, I don't know.
Metal Gear Solid 4: Guns of the Patriots.
Must play.
2008 action adventure stealth video game. It is the 6th Metal Gear game directed by Hideo Kojima, set 5 years after Metal Gear Solid 2.
I have never in my life have I been able to, until this game's existence, have I ever been able to say that this is the worst game I've ever played and it's the best game I've ever played.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 4 is baffling. Okay. Like, do I recommend this game? Absolutely. I think it is 100% worth playing. But at the same time, this is the stupid one. Of all of the entries, this is the stupid one.
It's the stupid one. It's like the stupid one after 2 was the stupid one. Like it took the throne of 2.
It makes 2 look fine.
Yeah, it makes 2 look like a really concise, well-crafted story.
Yeah, two's pretty quaint. You know?
Yeah.
God damn. I fucking love this game though, man. Let's just talk the gameplay mechanics in a minute. For a minute. Obviously it's on PS3, they can do a lot more. I think they took a lot of the stuff they learned from 3 and evolved it. They were able to put you into like more active war zones, which is an interesting concept for a Metal Gear game, like actively being stealthy during a war. Like that's cool, right? And they play with that a lot. Of course, there's the famous intro, like "War has changed."
Real quick, what you just said, that's cool, right? I feel like it was the pitch.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool, right?
I remember them like coming out with this game and they're like, you can pit the enemies against each other, and I imagine in my head they're in a boardroom like, that's cool, right? People are gonna really like
Yeah.
doing that, right?
Yeah. No, that's true. It's true. I feel like they were not reaching for scraps, but they were just like scrambling for something
Yeah.
with this game. They were like, what do we do? How do we follow up three? Right? Because like I said, three is like a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Like what do we do? And they had to do something. So here we
What
are.
they did was something. That's
Yeah.
undoubtedly true.
The gameplay is good. Uh, it's
Yes.
fun. And I would say the game's what, like maybe 20 hours, right, or something like that. And probably about 6 of it will be you playing the game.
Yeah, the
Um,
cutscenes are insanely long.
yeah, the other 14 hours is gonna be you watching the fucking cutscenes.
Is literally the other 14 hours is literally you watching eggs. That's literally like when I think of this game, all I think about are watching eggs. Those
There's
cutscenes,
so
yeah.
much. There's so much to love about this game, though. The fact that they, I don't want to get into the story too much, but the fact that they attempted to go, okay, look, we have a whole lineage of games now. We have a story we've set up. There has to be a payoff. This could be the last one. What do we do?
Mm-hmm.
And their solution was, we do everything. And they tried their damnedest to do everything up to this point to wrap all this shit up in some way.
Yeah.
Um, there are some great moments in this game still. This is where Raiden really became Raiden, and it's ridiculous. Um, one of the joke characters from the previous games, Johnny, is an actual character, and it's ridiculous. I love Drebin and his stupid fucking monkey. Remember Drebin? And you had to get Drebin points to buy weapons. He's a dumb character that we've never seen again. And just the concept of Old Snake is funny. Like there's a lot here that I think could have really worked if this game had a little more, a little bit more development time. But I think if this game had more development time, Konami would have gone bankrupt.
True.
So what we have is a fucking disaster of a game that I love.
I think you should, and they need to find a way to release this in a more playable state. But I think if once they do, this is a game where I guess what I would say is you'll walk away from this game saying that's one way to end a franchise. That's a way to do it. There's not,
I
it's a
Yeah,
mess.
but like even that, yeah, but like you're saying that, but even then, like there's so many. I think there's so many iconic moments in this game
Mm-hmm.
that work. So I think of the stupid Ocelot finger gun moment where he's shooting the helicopters out of the sky, which is a fucking amazing.
Yeah.
The slap fight on the fucking submarine at the end of the game. Mwah! What a beautiful way to fucking end a franchise.
Yeah.
You literally fucking fist fight your way through the entire franchise. uh, um, goddamn. This is a game that I'm terrified. I'm terrified of them re-releasing this because it would give us an excuse to do an episode on it, and that episode would probably be 5 hours long.
Yeah.
So I would say, hey, play it, but with a warning label that it's stupid.
Yeah. And by the way, this game is where I fell off. I did not anything that we talk about after it picks up again at V.
Okay.
Because I didn't have a PS3 ever. Well, no, I shouldn't say ever, but I had it by the time the PlayStation 4 was out. I had removed myself from gaming for this period, so Metal Gear
Okay.
Solid and all games, frankly, were pretty much dead for me. I this is one of the first games I picked up when I came back to gaming, so I was very late to the party on this one. I guess it's kind of funny because I'm like, oh yeah, they did release a Metal Gear Solid 4. Where did that end up? And then I played this and I was like, oh my god.
That wrapped it up for you, right?
Yeah. All right.
I okay, look, this is going to be spoiler territory, so anybody that wants to not be spoiled, skip ahead like a minute or two. But I do want to say that I have a funny story at the end of 4. I was playing 4 with my buddy David. I was over at his house, and he had a friend over that day, and I didn't really care for this guy, and he was, but like, friends of friends, sometimes that happens. Um and we were like hanging out at his house playing. Me and him were like really invested in like getting through this game, and the other guy was there watching. And he was getting on my damn nerves. And this is like 4 in the morning. And the other guy is like, "All right, I have to step out for a minute." So he like goes, and I forget what he's doing, but he's out of the room for like the next hour. So me and David are just kind of experiencing the end, like the very end of this game. And there's a moment at the end of this game where you think Snake's dead, and it's like kind of dragged on a little bit. So that he saw that before he left, because he's like, okay, well, he's dead. This is like the end of the game. He left. We played the next hour. You find out Snake isn't dead. And then he came back, and the credits are rolling, and we just let him believe Snake died. We didn't tell him. We didn't tell him that Snake wasn't dead. And I did that strictly because this guy was getting on my damn nerves all night. So I honestly don't know to this day. I don't, because I haven't kept up this guy. I don't know if he still knows that's like, if like he still thinks Snake died in that game.
Yeah.
He could.
And fuck him, That's funny.
he might.
Yeah, and he's just like, for some reason, people ask him constantly about the series. And
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, Snake died at the end, so that's kind of where it all wraps up.
It's a shame Snake died in 4.
Yeah, and everyone's just kind of scratching their heads. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna skip Metal Gear Online. We're gonna skip Metal Gear Solid Touch, which I think is also a phone game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame, man, that this is where you fell off, because I think you would like Peace Walker, and I think you should play Peace Walker, Spencer.
Okay.
It's Metal Gear Solid 3 2.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what it is. Yeah, it follows up 3. You're still playing as boss. It's basically bridges. If there's a trilogy of games, that is technically a quadrilogy, but I'm not saying that because I don't count Ground Zeroes as its own game. But that is Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, and Metal Gear Solid 5. Those make up their own boss, like big boss trilogy.
And now,
games.
Is this Vita? What is this released on?
PSP. This was what Portable Ops was kind of building up to. This was on PSP, and it was a main series Metal Gear game, but on portable consoles.
Okay.
And it did everything that a regular Metal Gear game does, but on the PSP. Very cool game. It did get, I don't know if you can still buy it, but it did get an HD version on like Xbox and PS3 and stuff. I don't know if that ever got physical or not. I'm hoping that with those, with they did that Master Collection Volume 1. I'm hoping if they do a Volume 2 that this gets included with, because they already had an HD version before. Because this is like necessary, I think, when it comes to like the overall narrative. And again, it's Metal Gear Solid 3 2, basically. So it's good. It's not my favorite. I have played it though, and I did like it. So
have they released this? Is this part of like one of the collections, like HD collections?
I'm not sure if it was an HD collection, but I know it was on PS3 and 360 in some format. Oh no, it looks like it was on HD collection.
Okay, cool.
So maybe it's still preserved physically that way too on those consoles. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, I'm open to it.
Yeah. Yeah, we can go Snake Eater 3D on the 3DS. That's a little footnote, right?
Everyone says it's pretty good. Okay.
I'm sure it is. Social
My
ops.
question is why. Anyway,
let's talk about Metal Gear Rising Revengeance for a second. All right. I remember when Metal Gear Rising was announced. Kojima was working on it, and he showed tech demos. This is like early. It's like 2009 or something. He showed tech demos, and it had Raiden slicing up watermelons with like a precision cutting tech thing, and like you can cut like buildings in half and stuff, and everything would like actually interact with your cuts. And then that game was like trapped in like development hell for a while. And then it was reborn as this Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. And on paper, this should be like my favorite game. It's Metal Gear. It's all the stupid shit with Raiden, and it's Platinum Games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like an action game. Like this should be my favorite game ever. I've never been able to get into this one.
Oh.
And I don't know. I can't tell you why. I think it's too much. I think it's too like corny. You know what I mean? Like regular Metal Gear games kind of toe the line between being like serious and corny. There are moments in this game that are way too over the top and corny that I was like, all right, we need to scale it back a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's I understand like mechanically this game's great. I'm sure it's Platinum Games. That's kind of their thing, right? They make great action games. But I've just never been able to get into this game
My
like
history
that.
with Platinum Games has been so ruined. It's so like off. I don't even know that I can even really like I've played Platinum Games and then everyone like loves that company and I've just been so I guess unlucky of the games that I've played from them that it's not even like I at some point I will
Nah,
play a
you
Platinum game that I like, but I yet to
you
do.
you've tried Automaton, didn't like it, right? So
Yeah.
that's basically the peak. So
That's peak Platinum.
I I mean probably honestly I don't know. I mean
Um
if you didn't like that game, you're probably not gonna like Bayonetta or you
okay.
know. So
Um
you know what I mean. Like it's I don't know.
yeah, cuz I played that one and I played Star Fox.
Well, wow. That Platinum was that's not really that was
Right.
Platinum. That was the Nintendo. Yeah, they had that partnership with with Nintendo, and Nintendo kind of
Yeah.
put them on a dying, like a sinking ship.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
were
That
like,
that one I do not necessarily blame Platinum
they were
for,
like,
but it's
you
like
guys can save this project, right? And they were like, I mean, we can
yeah,
definitely
they're like sure, we can do it.
play this shit.
And then Shigeru Miyamoto was like, "Here are the rules." And it's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, like I don't count that as a platinum game because I don't think they had creative control
Mhm.
to make a game. I think yeah, they were like brought in as the team to just code it. And yeah, Miyamoto was like, "All right, I have a list of demands."
Yeah.
uh so and I haven't tried it in a long time. I do have it on my Series S. Maybe I'll give Revengeance another go at some point. I know people do really like it, and Raiden's cool. He's dumb, but he's cool.
Yeah.
So,
You ready to
um,
go to 5 or V, whatever you want to call it?
yeah, Metal Gear Solid V 5 is interesting on a lot of ground zeros. Um, this game is the development and the history of this is so fascinating to me. I think I've probably watched and read more stuff about the game's development than I have spent playing the game.
Mhm.
Um, because there's a few things. There's for one the recasting of Snake. That's probably the smallest thing here, right? He has a new voice actor, and they decided to go open world with this one. They released Ground Zeroes as a playable demo that's like a few hours long that you had to pay for before the actual game came out, which was a strange decision. Got a lot of flack at the time. The game didn't really resemble a Metal Gear game upon release, and also upon release, Kojima's name was scrubbed from the entire project, and he was fired from the company and couldn't accept rewards. I mean, the awards for this game from the Game of the Year stuff, because him and Konami had this huge beef that's still happening. So yeah, it's like the stuff surrounding 5 is almost just more interesting than 5 is itself.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when 5 was coming out, they were talking about Hideo Kojima. And I swear these are fake, but they were said by like all the news outlets that Kojima was like being tortured at Konami and he was being forced to like work as a janitor.
Yeah, he has a janitor. I heard about that too. I know there was some mistreatment within Konami, but again, it's all coming through like it's like playing telephone, right?
Right.
So it that literally could have been him complaining that like maybe nobody cleaned his, like they didn't have the staff to clean the offices or something, so he had to do it.
Yeah.
And that literally could have just been dripped down through Japanese outlets to you to the English outlets to us being like, oh, he had to clean the entire Konami office or something.
Yeah.
He was the janitor. That's literally what that could have been. So there's no saying really. It's hard to know unless we sit down with Kojima and fucking ask him what the hell that meant.
Yeah, yeah. The pros of this game, graphically it's unbelievably good looking. It's incredible.
Mhm.
Gameplay wise, probably the best the series has ever been from just
Yes,
purely a gameplay perspective.
it's so fun.
Where it falls apart to me is gameplay design.
Mm.
I think what I like about Metal Gear Solid is I feel like I'm alone in a crazy world, almost like an Alice in Wonderland, but like in a weird like military setting. This game was like the antithesis of that. Where you felt like you were in control of like an army, like you were which I guess is probably the intention, but it felt the opposite of that, which is you becoming the bad guy. Like you are the Empire doing these things, and I don't know. It didn't really resonate with me on that end. It was very like it was done as like a series of missions.
Yeah.
And it just felt like I like Metal Gear Solid because of the story and like the way that it spins like a movie like tale. This was very uncinematic in its approach to a storytelling, and it was just it seemed lazy. And a friend of mine was like, who you could probably guess who it is, but he defended that and said, no, it works if while you're on your missions you just listen to the audio logs. Like while you're at the beginning of each mission, you're walking to your location, you listen to the audio logs. I'm like, okay, but that's literally the laziest way to tell a story.
And and this is 2015. Literally every game's been doing that since 2008.
Yes.
And I like some of those games. I'm a big fan of like BioShock and stuff, but literally audio logs and like that sort of like the delivery of story through like stuff like that, like or through like little books you pick up and stuff like that. Like games have been doing that for so long at this point that it was no longer immersive.
Yeah.
So even that argument falls apart because it's like, okay, well, I mean, yeah, Skyrim did that, Diablo did that, but BioShock did that, Fallout did that. So, you can just start going on the list of games that do
Yeah.
this do this exact same concept. It's like,
What I'm guessing is that this was a result of some of that turbulence between Hideo Kojima and Konami and just them needing to get the product out. So they're like, let's
yeah,
scrap the
this
bigger pieces of the story and just get you to do the missions, and then we'll just put like a cutscene in between a couple of them.
this game famously has a whole like second, or I think it's the second or third act. I forget what they like break it down into.
Yeah.
But the third act of the game is not there. It's just not finished.
Yeah.
Because of what happened. Because he couldn't do it. And again, whatever happened between Konami and Kojima, we know that it's at this point it's fun to say like, oh, fuck Konami. I say that a lot. But at this point it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Konami's doing their thing now. They've been making actual games again that have been getting pretty decent reception. And Kojima's off doing Death Stranded now, so it's and he's doing his thing. So it's like at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter anymore what happened or why it happened. But we do have a game that like reflects it. That's like
it kind of matters.
eh.
I hesitate to say it doesn't matter because
Okay,
Metal Gear Solid still exists.
it matters within within like the context of like the franchise history and gaming history. But I mean, just in terms of like trying to like tell the story as like a who's right, who's wrong, it doesn't
Yeah,
really matter anymore.
yeah, that I agree on. That I agree
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
It's hard to say, and it's filled with so much like gaming journalism where you're
yeah.
like, are you just writing this because it's ridiculous and you know it'll get clicks? And it's like the answer is yes. Uh, so it's so hard to say like who's at fault here and who's to blame. I'm obviously Kojima's a crazy like he's probably a strange person to work with. I mean, we could probably guess that that's the way it is. So I don't want to say it's entirely not his fault. And Konami, I'm sure, is a real bitch of a corporation. So like, fuck them too. But it's like, yeah, you're right. To say who's at fault here, it's not really the point. The real tragedy is that Metal Gear Solid continues and will continue, and apparently the movie is still happening, right?
No, it's not.
Oh,
I don't care until I see something. I don't care.
that's funny.
Stop! Everyone, stop talking about this damn movie.
When it happens, then we'll be like, okay, it's weird.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Anyway, it is
Okay.
a shame because there's a really Metal Gear Solid V5, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It honestly feels like a tech demo, like a really polished like
Mhm.
idea of how good Metal Gear Solid V5 could have been, but it never quite becomes like a Metal Gear Solid game. Like all the pieces
Yeah.
don't really form into one to me.
Yeah. This game needed 2 more years.
Yeah.
Uh, there is a great game here, and I think it's really easy to see that. And you're not wrong if you appreciate it for that. I do. I think this game is fun, and there's a lot of I remember a lot of memorable moments from this game and characters. Um, but yeah, it's hard to ignore what's missing. You know,
Yeah.
um, which is the rest of it.
Significant chunks. But I'm thankful at least it came out. That's that's a victory almost in and of itself. So
Mhm.
and then Metal
All
Gear
right.
Survive came out to continue this.
Measure what? What? Measure what? Measure what? What did you survive?
Yeah, remember?
Metal Gear Survive?
Remember Metal Gear Survive?
What? Wait, Spencer, I don't.
Am I
What?
cutting out?
What? Survive what? Can Konami survive this game? Can yeah, I still have not played this one to date. This is the only one of like not kind of the stupid phone games of like that I haven't in some way experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm, probably never going to be honest, to be frank.
Can you
Uh,
still play this?
I think so. I mean, it's PS4, Xbox One game. I'm sure you can still buy a copy and experience it. I don't know if it'll be the experience that was there day one, which from what I know wasn't much to begin with.
Yeah.
So Metal Gear Survive, for the people that don't know, is a follow-up to Metal Gear Solid 5, which if you look at the logo, the V is in the Survive. Where Konami was like, okay, Kojima's gone. We obviously have a fan base that's worried about this franchise they love and what's going to happen to it. So let's reassure them that the franchise is in safe hands by taking the development stuff that we have from 5 and making a zombie game that apparently barely works. And also, if you want to create a new character after creating a previous character, you're going to have to pay us money
Yeah.
to do that. Yeah, and let's just plop that out for like $30, and yeah, I remember when this game came out, and everybody was like, "Well, that's dead. Metal Gear's dead."
I'm going to assume that their idea was also that we have the assets.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they had the assets from 5, and they were like, "Well, we can just do something with that." They're laying around.
Anyway,
Yeah.
and then now, I mean, let's see. We technically we have a couple other things, but we have the Master Collection, whatever, and then Snake Eater's coming out. So I guess what's your hope for Snake Eater as far as the series goes and as the game goes?
I am hoping that it. I'm hoping that it is just a fun, polished, like new way to play Snake Eater. Not really like a port. Obviously, Master Collection came out, and I haven't played that. I know I bought you that one,
Yeah.
Christmas. I haven't played it. I believe those are just straight up ports, like ROM ports of the games, which is fine. Um, Snake Eater, I'm hoping it's granted the footage that we've seen isn't the most promising, but I am hoping that it's just at least like a great way to play a great game, with new visuals and stuff. Um, I'm hopeful because while Konami has done nothing but shit themselves the past decade, it seems like in the last like 2 years at least they've been on the upswing.
Mm-hmm.
I know from the Silent Hill franchise, which is Konami's other big one. That's been going a lot better for them. I know the remake of 2 got a lot of praise. I haven't played it yet, but I know that got a lot of praise. And also recently they announced Silent Hill F, which again I'm kind of like I'm scared to get excited for it, but it looks fucking phenomenal. Like it looks great. So I'm hopeful that they're putting the same amount of care into this and to like understanding that like this like Metal Gear Solid is such a valuable asset when it comes to their company, and like if they want Konami to continue to be a publisher or like a game studio, that they have to treat this franchise with some sort of respect and not just put out shitty spin-off games or like pachinko machines. They have to actually do something, and
Hmm.
I think this is what to me, when this was announced, this is what I took this as them saying, like, yeah, we are trying to, we're here and we hear you and we are trying. Um, we'll see the actual results of that in August, but that's kind
Yeah.
of like the message that I got from this.
Yeah, I'm of two minds of this. Like, obviously I'm excited and I will definitely play it. Um but I also don't really like want another Metal Gear Solid. Like, I don't necessarily want the series to continue because it,
Mhm.
it really has to be Kojima's vision. And if he's not really a part of it, even if it's good, I don't really just want to count it. Like, it just doesn't seem right.
Yeah, really, really, remakes are all you can do at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Is look back on the past. I think there are things that you could do. You and I talked about this. I don't know if it was on an episode or just in general. We talked about the fact that like they could do a Metal Gear Acid 3
Yeah. Yeah, they
and
could do
just
something like
release
that.
it. Just release it, and it'd be like a cute little game, and it doesn't have to be that high, like in the production value. It just has to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's like there's stuff like that you can do. But yeah, I agree. Like if they announced Metal Gear Solid 6 after this, I would be worried. I would be very worried.
Yeah.
Because while they've proven themselves capable of at least preserving their catalogs and able to, produce a quality product, they haven't proven themselves enough for me to remotely trust them to make a Metal Gear Solid 6.
Correct. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I agree. And I wouldn't again, I really wouldn't want it because it's like
no.
Metal Gear and Kojima are just so intrinsically connected
They would
that
have to just start a whole new thing, basically, which I think they would have to anyway. I think five basically leads right into Metal Gear, like the first game, and then 4 wraps all that shit up at the very end of the time. So I don't know. I don't like they would have to just start somewhere new
Mhm.
anyway. So
Yeah.
I I don't want to say I couldn't see it working, because I think it could in some way work. I think they could do something with a new character, or even take a previous character and expand on them in some way. But I don't know what that would be. I don't have an answer for that.
So I think for the foreseeable future, we could probably just consider Metal Gear a completely like done franchise, unless they announce something
Yeah.
new.
Yeah. Again, I could see more remakes if this one does well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they do like the Capcom thing where they just start remaking their games.
All right. Well, that's our first timeline episode. I think it actually is kind of interesting to go through it. Maybe
Yeah.
we do this for other series. I know we
Gex? Oh, that'd
other
be a short one.
series, not that one specifically, but there are other ones that deserve it. So,
Oddworld? That one actually might be interesting. I love
that one might be
it.
interesting. But
and
yeah,
plus we can do the Abe voice.
we can. Yeah, the whole thing will be
Which
the A voice.
which iconic PS1 voice is better, Spencer? The Abe voice or the Snake voice?
Snake.
Come on.
The Snake one you can do in so many situations.
Okay, what if you swapped them? What if you had Snake as Abe? Like Snake was like I thought I had a good job.
I think it's time to go viral.
I thought I had a good job.
This is an idea that's going to make us a lot of money.
Then you had Abe in Metal Gear, right?
Yeah.
It's like I can't even do Abe right now, right?
You
He's like
go
from here. Right.
you go like where did you get those cigarettes? And then he goes,
And in my stomach.
in my stomach. Metal Gear?
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear?
I thought I had a good franchise until Konami fired Hideo Kojima.
Or maybe Abe is Abe is the enemies.
Yeah.
I see you like Castlevania.
There you go. Yeah, this was fun. Let us know in the comments what other series you like to see us go through the timeline for. Obviously, if it's like something too crazy long, I don't know. We might. Who knows? If we have enough to say about it.
Yeah.
You know, I was just thinking about that. If somebody was like, go through. I was going to say Final Fantasy, but I was like, that one might actually be interesting.
Maybe I'll go on my channel and do one for Dragon Quest.
Yeah,
I'll invite you on to see what you have to say about it.
I'll go on my channel and do one for Dragon Age. Oh shit. Dragon Age Origins. It only goes down here from here, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, it's literally like a downward slope.
This is the peak. We have a slight hill with Inquisition. You know, it goes up a little bit. Nah. It's like
yeah, boy. That's the series.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. Let us know what you thought, and we'll see you guys on the next video.
Metal Gear.